Many of you asked about our non-target combat system in the live demo, so my name is Martin, and this quick tutorial I will present you how we configured it. So we will start from our Atavism standalone editor configuration, and we will move along abilities, effects, and coordinated effects, so you could follow it and configure it on your end as well. So first we will check our attack ability. So we will pick, let's say, knockdown leap, and this ability is pretty straightforward. So we have combat melee ability, we have a name icon. We picked our skill as a two-handed sword, and this ability is not channeling or it's not pulsing, so it's only one hit. We have instant as its cast time set to 0, and then we have some requirements like 5 points of mana, and that's pretty much it. And then we have requirements, so we need to have a greatsword as a weapon. Our target type is AoE enemy. We have target state alive. Because it's non-target combat system, we are using player radius, so AoE type is player radius. Chunk length is 1. We are calculating is that this damage and these abilities as predicted, so because it's melee ability and close combat range, so we don't want to our enemies avoid this ability. Then we will hit unlimited number of targets. We could choose something else, but we decided that we will hit everyone, and our AoE radius is set to 3 meters and angle 180. It's basically half of the circle in front of our player, so it won't hit enemies that are behind us. Then we have speed, and this speed means how fast this ability will travel towards enemies, towards this angle. In this case we have 1000, but we could also set it to 0, so it could be instant, but 1000 meters per second it's nearly instant. Then we have pulse requirements. We can skip this because we are not using any pulse in this ability. We have pretty simple cooldowns, so global cooldown, and this global cooldown and all cooldowns will start on activation. And then we have 3 effects, 3 important ones. So we called them sword slash, and after the name we have delay with which the effect will be applied. So in this case we have 0.25, 0.5 and 1.0. So with this delay the effect will be applied. We will now switch to these effects, and we will go one by one, and I will show you the exact configuration of them. So let's move to the effects. So we have sword slash 0.25, 0.5 and 1.0. So let's start from the first one. And here we have really simple damage effect with melee strike effect. We are taking health, it's damage type slash. Here we have damage amount, modifier 1, so this particular value will be multiplied by this one, so it will cause 40 damage amount. And we are delaying this damage by 0.25 seconds. It's because we want to synchronize it with our animation. The important thing here is that we have here coordinated effect. and this coordinated effect is in the field pulse chord effect, and this chord effect, particularly in all effects, are instantiating or invoking when the effect will be applied on the player or enemy or friendly target, whatever. So it will only occur when the effect will be applied. It's opposite to the ability chord effect, which is applying on a state or on an event, like on activation, on completion, or on channeling, and so on. And no matter if you will hit in an enemy or not, abilities chord effects will be applied. But in this case, because it's an effect, this chord effect will be applied only in the situation when the effect will hit the target. So in this case we have new attack 03 hit. I will show you the exact configuration of this chord effect later, but it will be the same for all of the effects. So the rest of the effects will be the same, really similar configuration, but instead of damage delay 0.25 we will have 0.5 or 1.0. So this will be the only difference between these effects. As you can see, now we opened sword slash 0.5 and we have damage delay 0.5. We have damage amount slightly different, slightly higher, but this is not really important. And we have the same coordinated effect assigned in the pulse chord effect field here. So this only also occur in the situation when the effect will be applied on the target. And the last one is sword slash 1.0, and this one will have one additional configuration. It has also damage delay of 1 second, slightly higher damage amount, the same chord effect, as you can see, chord new attack 03 hit, but this one has also assigned effect tag. And why this effect tag we have assigned here, I will describe it also later on during this tutorial. So we have just remember that we have effect tag knockback here in this sword slash 1.0. So with this configuration we are doing this this attack. This is knockdown leap, as we saw in the Atavism editor, and as you can see, it will invoke 3 hits. So we have delay first 0.25, the next one is 0.5, and the last one is 1 second delay. Now the tricky part with the knockdown effect, as most of you asked of it, is that we were using a trigger effect, and the trigger effect is our we called it critical meditation. And let's switch to the Atavism editor so I could show you the exact configuration of it. So now we are in the back to the Atavism editor. It was called critical meditation, so let's check the configuration. We already could see that it's friendly effect ability. We have an icon, we have a name, and here is maybe a bit unusual configuration. It's new since 10.2 X2 version. We are using toggle, so this toggle is ticked, and this means that when we are using this ability, let me show you. So when we are using this ability critical meditation, basically this ability will be enabled, and we will consume on each pulse we will consume our mana. Of course our mana is regenerating in the same time as we are not in combat, but of course we can adjust it, but still this ability will remain active until we will toggle it off, so turn it off. And we are turning it off by clicking on it once again. And this ability is applying an effect on us that, as you can see, it's pulsing here. So this effect is pulsing ability is pulsing every 1 second. And that's why every 1 second it's consuming our mana. So let's switch to the Atavism editor and we'll show you what effect is attached to it. So now we are back in the Atavism editor and we'll move quickly through the ability and effect assigned to it. So as I said, we have critical meditation, it's toggle, and here we have ability pulse number. And this pulse number is set to -1, which means that this ability will pulse infinitely until this toggle, as I showed you in game. It will pulse until we will turn this ability off. So it's basically toggle on and toggle off. And our pulse is every 1 second. So this is important that we should apply an effect for 1 second. So it could be basically permanently until we will turn it off. Then we have simple cost, so mana 10 points, no items consumed. We are requiring a great sword. It will be cast on self, so on our player. Our player must be alive. Here we have speed 0, so basically for target type self, because we are casting on ourselves, the cast will be instant in this case, so the effect will be applied instantly on ourselves. Then we have pulse requirements. In this case, because we are pulsing infinitely, then we are using pulse section, pulse requirements, and we are consuming 5 mana with each pulse. Also, we are not consuming any items. We are not using any cooldowns because we want to toggle it on and toggle it off without any cooldowns for this ability. And we have only one effect applied, assigned to this ability. The effect is called critical meditation effect. So basically, let's copy it and let's head to the effects section so we could see this meditation effect. Let's check it, and here it's pretty simple. So here we are using effect type trigger, and with subtype trigger effect. There is only one subtype, and we are having here trigger profile assigned. So let's check what this profile means and how it works. So let's navigate to this trigger profile. So here we have our trigger profile. Let's check it. And it's also pretty simple configuration. So in the top section we have requirements and conditions when this trigger can occur. So we have we can define race as a requirement, we can define class, action type we have dealt or received. So here we have event type. In this case we used critical hit, so this trigger can occur if the critical hit occur with chance 100% when these conditions will be met. So in this case we are dealing this critical hit, so when the critical hit occur on an enemy, and if the effect tag that we are applying on an enemy is with tag knockback. And as you remember, we had this knockback tag on our last effect. I will show you it, /1.0, and we had this effect tag knockback on this particular effect. So every time this effect will be applied on an enemy, this trigger have a chance to occur, and the chance is defined here, so between 100% and 100%. So we are basically setting this to 100% in total to occur this trigger. And when this trigger occurs, we can invoke effects below. So in this case we have one effect, but we can define as many as you want. In this case we have trigger on the target. So if this trigger occur, if this effect with tag knockback occur, we have 100% to trigger this one, or any effect that we will define. And in this case we are triggering this on the target. We are triggering effect on the target. The effect is named knockdown, and we have 100%, again 100% to 100% range, so we will hit the enemy all the time with this knockdown effect if this knockback effect with this tag will occur. We have many ranges here and it can be confusing a bit, but here we are defining chance for the whole trigger, and if the trigger occur we can define various triggers. For example, if we can define that if we will critical hit the enemy, we can, for example, heal ourselves with 5% or maybe 0 to 5%, so it won't be constant 5%, it can vary from 0 to 5. So it's pretty powerful element because here we can define as many elements as we want. We can define that if someone will hit us, we can put a shield on ourselves. We can, for example, torch an enemy if we will hit him with a fire spell, if he has, for example, an oil trigger on himself. If another player has ability that will put an oil effect on an enemy, then, for example, if we will use our fire arrow or fireball, then we can define it that we can put the enemy on fire if these two events will occur. It can be also on damage, on dodge, on miss. There are many events you can use. On kill. So for example, after a kill we can heal ourselves a bit. So yeah, it's pretty powerful. So again, we have only one effect here and we will apply knockdown effect. So now we are also heading to the effect and we will check this knockdown. We have it here, so let's open it. And this effect is also pretty simple. So here we have stun effect. We are stunning our enemy for 3 seconds, and based on the stun, if the stun effect, because it's on effect, and we have also pulse cord effect here, so if the enemy will be affected by this effect, we will apply this cord effect on the enemy. So now let's move to the coordinated effects. So we are using 3 coordinated effects for this element, for this one, or maybe one ability with triggers. So we have hit, and here we have simple animation, cord animation on the character, mechanism, bool type, and we are modifying parameter with name wound. Based on this parameter, we are animating target, so we could show when the enemy is getting hit by our sword. But it's still not knockdown animation. Then we have two chord particle effects, and here we are instantiating blood prefabs, so blood particles. These are from CryptoFX package, and we are instantiating it on the target in the root slot, and we are also playing hit sound. And similarly, we have another chord particle effect, and we have our sound when the enemy is getting hit. He is playing one of the audio files, so we have around 15 of them, and Atavism is randomizing one of them every time, so this enemy is not making the same sound over and over again. So this is really simple hit coordinated effect. Then we have our knockdown, and knockdown is also pretty straightforward. So we have character, we have mechanism, and in this case trigger, and we are setting knockdown parameter for our target, so for our enemy, and also we are playing sound. It's like a falling sound. And the last one we have new attack 03, and this one, let me open Atavism editor once again, and let's switch to the ability, and this is our knockdown leap. And here we have on completed event we have new attack 03 chord effect, and this is the same as we have here. So this chord effect has a bit more elements. So we have chord animation. We are playing animation because we want to swing our sword, so we have new attack 03 on the caster. We are playing sound, this whoosh sound of the attack. We are instantiating this trail after our sword. This is the first component. Then we have particle effect. Here we are playing short shout of our character, so it's also on the caster. We are getting weapon because we want to have the weapon in our hands if we weren't in combat before. We are locking player's movement. We are moving through this script. We are moving our player by 3 meters per second within 1.5 seconds. So basically we are controlling how the player will be moved. And then we have 3 chord particle effects. So we have on the caster, we are also instantiating sound of the sword. Then we have shout again, also on our caster. It's also randomized. And the last one is also another attack. These are with different delays, as you can see. So activation delay is 0.25, and the second shout is after 1 second. So this is the last one, the last attack. So in this 0.25, actually we have two shouts. Let's switch to the game again. Let's move to our enemies. And here, when we are not having our knockdown or critical meditation enabled, when we are hitting enemies, we are not knocking down them. But when we are toggling it on, we will have a chance to knock down enemies. So that's pretty much it for this tutorial. I hope it will be helpful for you, and see you in the next one. Bye bye.
Don't forget to subscribe to the Atavism YouTube channel and hit the notification bell to be alerted when new videos on Atavism are released. Have a great day and happy developing.